In this lesson, we're going to learn about text views, edit text, and buttons. So in most Android apps, you most likely have these three basic UI elements. So let's start with the text view. So I drag a text view and drop it in here. See a text view as a label or a text that cannot be edited. We also have plain text. Drag it and drop it. Click this. Yeah. Move the bottom constraint. And up. Now, if you look at the right, you would see layout width and layout height. If you want the width of a UI element to just be as large as the content in it, you can use WrapContent. Now, if I wanted this UI element to be as big as the constraint would allow, I can say match constraint. That means keep expanding until you reach your constraint. Currently, the constraint states that it should give an 8 dp gap from the left constraint. So for example, if I give this 100 dp, can you see? So from the left constraint, it gave a 100 dp gap. I change it back to 8. But if I want this to just be as large as the content, just enough, I can say WrapContent. Each view has an ID. That is very important. The ID of this text view is Textview 2. The ID of this edit text is edit text. In order to reference a particular view, you need to locate it using its ID. So first, let's locate a text view. So I would say text view. I can give it a variable name. I'll just call it text view. Is equal to find view by ID. So find view by ID is trying to locate this view using the view's ID. Currently, the ID of this text view is Textview 2. So I'll come over here and say r.id dot, then you see the ID. So now anything I do to this variable would be reflected here. Also, let's reference this edit text. So I'll come over here and say edit text. I can call the variable name edit text. Let's go to find view by ID, r.id.edit text. So we have our edit text here. It already has a text. So that is why you see this. Then you have our text view, which had a text, but we can't edit it. So normally you use text views for titles or to label some UI elements. Edit text is where your user will normally type in the value so they can get in some inputs. Let's beautify this a little bit. So for this text view, I want to change the text to say something. So over here, you would see where you can edit the text. If you come to layouts, you can edit this. You can also go to text and look for the text view here. You can preview your UI by clicking this preview. So I want to change the text of the text view to say something. You can also edit the size of your text. So if I come over here and click on text size, I can make it 30 SP. Normally, when you are setting the size of the text, we use SP. We'd see some explanation of SP in the supplementary materials. Now we have our text, and then for this name, we don't want it to have any text. Initially, we want it to be empty, so I don't have to be deleting every time I start. So I would remove the text. So let's run this. So we have our edit text, and we can type something. Instead of a text to be here, I think I want it to have a hint, like when you normally see, please put email. Not an actual text, but a hint. I'll come over here and write hint. Say please. And voila, you can see this. I now have a hint. So let's add a button. If you go over to buttons, you can click on button, drag it and drop it. I want to change the text of this button. Let me go over to text. I'll say talk. So the ID of this button is button 3. Now, you can actually change the IDs of your buttons, but make sure that the ID you put here is what you're going to be stating when you're finding the view. For this button, let me give it an ID of button talk. So I come over here. I run this program. You can see the button. But we want this button to do something. So we are going to set a click listener on this button. Say button.set on click listener. So this is going to be called anytime the button is clicked. So we create a new click listener inside here. So I'll say new on click listener. Each time the button is clicked, the OnClick is called. So whatever you want to perform when this button is clicked, you can do it here. For now, let's just create a toast. The toast are those messages you would normally see at the bottom of the screen, just to notify you that something happened. So to create a toast, you say toast.makeText, return the context. The main thing here is the text. So for here, I will say, hey, and then toast.length short. This determines how long the toast is going to be. After all is done, you call show. If you don't call show, the toast will be created, but it will not display to the user. So you want to call show. Let's run this. So if I click on talk, see hey. I click it, you see hey. But let's make it that whatever I type here is what is going to be shown here instead of hey. I'll come over here and create a variable string current text is equal to edit text dot get text string. Getting the text of the edit text as a string, saving it in a variable, and I'm going to display that variable here. So I'll come here and say current text. So this is how to get the text of an edit text. And I say talk. Hey, you see Cybrary. That's the basics of text views, edit text, and buttons. Now, if you notice, we didn't use the text view for anything. Because we are not making use of the text view, we don't need to reference it. Can easily remove this. So we just want it to be in the UI, nothing more than that. I don't need to call it and say find view by ID. Also because I was trying to get the text from the edit text inside an inner class, Android Studio automatically made it final. In the next lesson, we're going to create a little app that increments numbers as you click a button. Hope to see you in the next lesson.